Good day, good people, and welcome to Revolutionary Belovedness. Whether you are watching the live session or the recording, thank you so much for being here. And if you are new, thank you for being here the first time. We are, I believe, I am still trying to figure out how to check the technology, but we are simulcasting onto Subcast as well. If you would switch microphones, sorry, technical issue here. There we go. If you would like to join the discussion in the chat section here on the Mighty Network, you can certainly sign in and join us there. Our topic this evening is the prayer of consent and surrender. And the chat section will remain open all evening. We're going to have a moment of centering here in just a second. I'll share a reflection for about 12 to 15 minutes. Then we'll have a guided meditation and some dialogue questions. And I'm going to go ahead and share with you the dialogue questions now, just so that they can kind of be planted as a seed and maybe be germinated by what you hear tonight. First, what does the word surrender bring up in your body, and how does your physical response reveal something about your history with trust, control, or the spiritual life? Next is, where in your daily experience do you notice the difference between action that flows from alignment and action that flows from the need to manage outcomes? And what does that distinction feel like from the inside? In our reflection tonight, you will hear, of course, from Valerie Kaur, Richard Rohr, Wayne Teasdale. And Valerie Kaur describes breathing as the practice that sustains all the other labors of revolutionary love. So how does the inner work of consent and surrender connect for you to the capacity to love others fiercely and act for justice without burning out? And then next would be, what would it mean concretely and practically to live one ordinary day from the posture of open hands? And what feels most at risk in that experiment? As I said, the chat section remains open, so please feel free at any time to share anything on your heart. This topic of the prayer of consent and surrender is really about letting go of control to align with a deeper movement of grace. So let's begin by centering down. Settle into the position your body has already chosen. Let the weight of your body be received by the chair, by the floor, by whatever holds you. And really feel that holding. There is something beneath you right now, supporting your full weight, asking nothing of you in return. And this is where we begin. Allow your eyes to close, or let your gaze fall soft and unfocused toward the earth. Turn your attention toward your breath. Not to change it, only to notice it. The breath arrives, it fills, it releases, it returns. You have been breathing your entire life without managing it. The breath knows what to do. This is the first teaching of surrender. Life moves through us when we allow it. Now bring your awareness to your hands. Let them open, palms resting upward or softly facing down on your lap. Open hands are the oldest gesture of offering, of trust. Notice what it feels like to release the grip, even slightly. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, allow the word yes to form somewhere in the body. Yes to this moment. Yes to this gathering. Yes to what may be given and what may be released. And in this we begin in consent, simply breathing, releasing, being. Friends, there is a prayer older than words. It lives in the body before the mind can name it. It moves in the moment of the exhale, in the softening of the jaw, in the unclenching of hands that have been holding on for longer than we realize. And Richard Rohr calls it the prayer of consent and surrender. And though the language may feel formal, the practice is as elemental as breathing itself. It is the act of releasing our grip on outcomes, releasing our grip on certainty, on the version of events we have decided must come to pass. And it is the allowing ourselves to be moved by something deeper and wider than our own managing. To speak honestly about surrender in our time requires some care, because the word itself carries heavy freight. For many, surrender has meant defeat, diminishment, or the silencing of one's own voice. Those associations carry real history and real pain. So let us hold the word gently and distinguish the kind of surrender being invited here. This is surrender toward rather than away from. It is surrender into a current that runs deeper than the self. Not the abandonment of agency, but the reorientation of it. Valerie Kaur speaks of revolutionary love as a practice of labor, fierce and embodied and fully alive. And within that labor, she names breathing as its own spiritual act, the necessary pause, the moment of reception before the next push. Both Rohr and Kaur approach the same truth from different angles. The soul that clings too tightly to its own control eventually exhausts itself, and exhaustion is a poor foundation for love. The prayer of consent begins with a simple, devastating admission. The deepest currents of life move according to a wisdom we did not design and cannot fully command. Grace, whatever name we call it, in whatever tradition we found it, does not arrive on our schedule. It does not conform to our plans or reward our effort in the ways we expect. It moves more like water than like machinery. And the question that this practice places before us is whether we are willing to be moved by it, or whether we will continue to stand in the middle of the river, straining against the current, calling the river wrong. There is a particular exhaustion that comes from the kind of spiritual life that is primarily a performance of control, keeping the right thoughts, maintaining the correct posture of virtue, managing one's life as though the soul were a project with deliverables. Many of us have learned this mode well. The religious and cultural structures that shaped us often rewarded it. Self-mastery, discipline, productivity, the relentless forward motion of becoming. These are honored values, and they carry genuine worth. And yet, Richard Rohr invites us into something the mystics of every tradition have known. There is a dimension of the spiritual life that only opens when we stop performing and begin consenting. Consent in this sense is the prayer that says, I am here. I am willing. I release my demand that things be other than they are. Now, this does not mean passive acceptance of injustice or the abandonment of effort. Valerie Kaur's framework reminds us that love is labor, that fighting and grieving and reimagining are sacred acts. And within that framework, consent is what keeps the labor rooted in love rather than in the ego's need to win. When we act from surrender, our action comes from a different place. From fullness rather than fear, from alignment rather than compulsion. The fruit is different. The quality of presence is different. The people around us feel the difference, even when they cannot name it. And the Franciscan tradition that runs through Rohr's work speaks often of downward mobility, of the path that moves toward humility and simplicity rather than toward accumulation and control. Francis of Assisi encountered the living Christ in the faces of the poor, in the embrace of the leper, in the creatures of the field and sky. And he could do so because he had, through his own particular conversion, loosened his grip on the identity he had constructed. And something was revealed in that loosening. The spiritual life became, for Francis, a practice of ongoing consent. Consent to love in the form it actually arrived, rather than the form he might have preferred. There is real freedom in this, and also real joy. Not the shallow joy of things going well, but the durable joy of a soul no longer at war with reality. And this is where breath becomes teacher. When we practice conscious breathing, particularly the long exhale, we are rehearsing surrender in the body. And the nervous system responds. The grip releases. Somewhere in the tissue and bone, the holding softens. And this is why Valerie Kaur places breathing not as a peripheral practice, but as the one that sustains all the others. To breathe is to consent again and again to the rhythm of life that we did not create. Each exhale is a small act of faith, a releasing of what has been held, a making of space for what has not yet arrived. And Wayne Teasdale taught that the contemplative life is characterized by a willingness to be led, to be surprised, to remain in the learning stance rather than the mastery stance. He understood solidarity with the cosmos as an embodied experience, a felt sense of belonging, revolutionary belovedness to something whose wisdom exceeds our own. And this is consent in its largest form, the opening of perception to the sacred intelligence woven through all things. And this opening changes everything about how we act in the world, because we are no longer acting alone. We are acting from within a communion. The prayer of consent, then, is a practice we can return to in any moment. In the middle of conflict, in the pause before a difficult conversation, in the weariness that settles in, one that settles in during long seasons of struggle. And it does not require a cushion or a chapel. It requires only the willingness to exhale completely and to receive what comes next with open hands. Friends, the soul that practices this does not become passive. Rather, it becomes responsive in a deeper sense, available to the movements of grace that are always present, always offering, always working toward healing in ways we are too contracted to notice when we are gripping. And CORE names this labor of love fierce, embodied, alive. And its heartbeat is the breath of consent. So whatever you carry into this session, the full weight of your questions, your wounds, your hopes for what this community might become, it is welcome here. And there is a movement of grace already underway, larger than any single session, flowing through every earnest heart that shows up to this kind of work. Every task is simply to consent to it, to open, to breathe, to say with the whole body, yes. So friends, we are going to spend some time practicing that in guided meditation. So take a moment to arrive fully now in your body. Feel the weight of your body by whatever is beneath you. Allow your shoulders to soften and your jaw to release. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. This practice is an invitation inward. It is a journey toward the place in you that already knows how to let go. And it is rooted in the ancient wisdom that beneath all striving, beneath all our holding, all our managing of life, there is a current of grace already moving. And our work in these moments is simply to consent to it. So let us begin there, in the body, in the breath, in the willingness to be present bring your willingness to your hands. Notice how they are resting right now. Notice where they are resting right now. Are they curled or open? Are the muscles in your palms holding the tension you were unaware of until this moment? Slowly, gently, allow your hands to open. Let the palms face upward if that feels natural. Notice the sensation of that opening, the slight stretch across the palm, the air touching skin that was covered a moment ago. This gesture is one of the oldest in human spiritual life. Open hands are the posture of offering, of receptivity, of trust. Ask yourself with great tenderness, what have these hands been holding? Perhaps it's a particular outcome you have been steering toward. Perhaps it is a fear you have been managing, or a grief you have been carrying so long it no longer feels like a burden, it simply feels like you. With great tenderness, ask yourself, what have these hands been holding? And now let the image of what you are holding become visible to you. Give it a color or a texture or a weight. And feel it resting in the bowl of your open palms. Now let your awareness move to the breath. Draw a slow breath in all the way down into the belly, expanding the ribs, filling the lungs completely, and hold it for just a moment. And then release a long, complete exhale. Emptying from the bottom of the lungs upward, letting everything go. And notice what happens in the body at the end of that exhale. There is a pause, a brief, quiet space before the next breath arrives on its own. Do it again and rest in that pause. The breath will return. It always does. You have never had to force it. Something moves through you, sustaining your life, asking only that you remain open to receive it. That is the quality of grace. That is the texture of surrender. Now ask yourself with the same gentleness you would offer to someone you love, where in my life am I gripping? Where am I standing in the current, insisting the river should flow differently? And let an image or a feeling arise, perhaps in the chest or the throat, perhaps as a tightness somewhere along the spine. There is wisdom in that. It is telling you where your energy is going, where the holding is happening. And simply just breathe into that place. And with each exhale, allow even a small softening in that place. You're not being asked to release everything at once. You're only being asked to loosen the grip by 1 degree. To say somewhere in the body, I am willing. You're invited now to imagine for just a moment that there is a movement of grace already underway in your life, already flowing through the circumstances you are carrying, already working in the relationships that concern you, already present in the very struggle you have been trying to manage alone. Yes, there is a movement of grace already underway in your life. Where does it feel, or what does it feel like in the body to consider that possibility? Does something in the chest relax? Does the breath deepen? Or does some part of you tighten in response? A place that has learned through hard experience that trust is risky. No matter the response, honor it. The response is true. The response is part of you. And whatever the response, gently offer them with open hands. Whatever I am carrying, I offer it with open hands. May I consent to the grace already moving. May I be willing. Let us share this together in a few moments of silence and allow the silence to receive you. Whatever I am carrying, I offer it with open hands. May I consent to the grace already moving. May I be willing. When you are ready, allow your awareness to return gradually to the room around you. Notice and feel the weight of your body again. Feel the support beneath you. And take one more breath all the way in and all the way out. And as you return to ordinary awareness, carry with you the sensation of open hands. Carry the memory of the exhale and the quiet pause at the end. The grace that moved through you in this practice does not stop when the practice does. It continues in the conversation ahead, in the relationships you will return to, in the ordinary moments of the day where surrender is quietly available. May you find ease in the releasing. May you trust the current, and may you be well. Friends, we do have time for some group dialogue to whatever level you would like to. There are 4 questions to prompt this. These 4 questions will be available with the recording on the Mighty Network, so you can revisit them and go even deeper with them. Feel free to share those in the Mighty Network and have dialogue with the other members. But for now, if you would like to provide a brief response about any of these, or even a long response about one of these questions, the chat section is open. What does the word surrender bring up in your body? And how does your physical response reveal something about your history with trust, control, or the spiritual life? Next is, where in your daily experience do you notice the difference between action that flows from alignment and action that flows from the need to manage outcomes? And what does that distinction feel like from the inside? Next, Valerie Cord describes breathing as the practice that sustains all other labors of revolutionary love. So how does the inner work of consent and surrender connect for you to the capacity to love others fiercely and act for justice without burning out? And next, what would it mean, concretely and practically, to live one ordinary day from the posture of open hands? And what feels most at risk in that experiment? Now, I know that it takes a moment to pick a question and to type your response. So I am just going to sit quietly, give you a moment to process and type and share. There is one person typing. I can see it on my end. So we'll just continue to give them time. There's no hurry. One of our comments this evening is the posture of open hands, or the view from nowhere, is a practice that I've been trying to experience lately. Not easy. Yeah, there is no goal or end outcome. The practice is the posture, and that's how we live into it. We let grace come to us one little dose at a time. Thank you for sharing. Friends, again, whether you're here for the live session, whether you're watching on Substack right now or the Mighty Network, or if you're watching a recording that will be available on YouTube or, again, in the Mighty Network, thank you all so much for being part of this community and supporting one another in your presence and in your sharing. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, blessings to all. Good night for now.